So we're here with heathen author Galina Krasskova and Pope Sanian of the House of Vines, and also a pagan author. And we're just gonna ask them some questions about their practices.
Sounds good to me. Happy to answer.
Looking forward to this.
So first of all, I was just interested. It's I guess I haven't really seen before this strong connection between two people, and like one person in a Hellenic path and very strong, maybe more just Dionysus, but certainly informed by Hellenismos, and Galina, you who are very much heathen because you were called into heathenry by Odin. And I'm just interested in how your two paths intersected in this way.
With great vigor.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff is completely arbitrary, like setting these artificial boundaries. I mean, no ancient culture kept entirely to themselves. They were constantly mixing, they were constantly traveling abroad, for war or, conquest or, business. And so, they would constantly mix, and, you'd set up colonies, and the first thing that you would do is find out who the native gods were and make offerings to them, because these are the gods of the land that you find yourself in. And, at the same time, you would keep your ancestral gods, and so you just have to find a way to, honor both of these groups. And eventually, after a couple generations, it all got mixed together, and this was just the pantheon of the land. Like you see that especially in Egypt during the Ptolemaic period, because you can watch that whole progress, because we've got all these historical records going back, even before that, and then you see all of these colonizers come and the whole process of that, and so you get like a direct example of how to do that from antiquity. And so, I think all these people that get so bent out of shape over blurring boundaries and, honoring other people's gods and stuff, it's just very weird.
Polytheism is an open system. I mean, the whole point, polytheism, many deities. And I think that these divides that contemporary Reconstructionist polytheisms put around themselves, that, you can only work with the Norse gods, or you can only work with the Hellenic gods, it's very artificial. It's not something that our ancestors would have recognized.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that really, really bothers me is every one of these traditions has a fundamental value of hospitality. How can you say, I'm going to turn aside a god because it's not from my culture? That is impious, and it's a violation of hospitality.
Absolutely. So it made sense as we got to know each other that we would pay homage to each other's gods, because those gods inform every single thing that we do, mm-hmm. Including our working partnership.
Yeah. And, I had an interest in Odin and Loki before that, and, so...
See where that got you?
Yeah. And, for me, a big part of this is, she's somebody that's doing stuff that, that I really respect, puts in a lot of effort and energy, and, that's just really cool. And so I'm very happy to be working, with her and doing all of this, because, the gods are important and need to be honored.
And I had already maintained a household shrine to Dionysus, because he's been very good to me over the years, and it seemed the least I could do out of respect. So, it worked out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people spend time talking about beliefs and cosmologies and frameworks, but a lot of less time talking about actual praxis. And I was just I know you both have a very dynamic practices on your own, and I was interested which of those practices drew you both to each other's work, and how have those practices informed each other since you met?
I think this over-focus on belief is something that's very monotheistic. Polytheism is about right action. I mean, belief is a state of mind. It can come or it can go. You can have an indigestion one day, and maybe that affects how you believe. You choose to believe, or you choose not to. It's irrelevant. Do. no matter what I'm feeling or what state of mind I'm in, I can do the requisite rituals and I can show respect and love of my gods that way. Belief will come. Now, do I believe in my gods? Absolutely. But I'm not going to get caught up in orthodoxy, in right belief, because that way lies the exclusion of diverse practices. And some of those diverse practices that get excluded are things that my gods may want me doing. I am concerned with doing. There's an Estonian proverb that I love that says, the work will teach you how to do it. And it's true.
Mm-hmm. And, I think there's a fundamental belief that you have to have in the gods, because otherwise, if it's just something in your imagination or you don't think that they're actually there, what's the point of doing anything, But beyond that belief, I don't think it's necessary to have all the details figured out. And honestly, I don't think we can figure out all the details because we have finite human brains, and gods, even the smallest god, is beyond our comprehension.
I would agree with that. And I think that this is something that crops up in heathenry, certainly. This preoccupation with orthodoxy, with right belief versus wrong belief. And that very much is something that we take from monotheism. I mean, if you look at the term heresy, its original meaning, it's a Greek word, hiereo, and the original meaning was to choose. It didn't take on its current negative connotation until the advent of Christian orthodoxy. So I think that we need to be really, really careful as we're working on the reconstruction of our ancestral traditions to keep in mind that traditions are living, breathing things. They're lineages and wisdoms and medicine that rest in the hands of our ancestors and our gods and that can be transmitted to us. Transmitted to us in the times in which we live. And it's not held in a book, and it's not held in a set of unchanging laws to which we must adhere. And it's not held in the mental cage of belief.
Yep. And even if you have that belief, you still have to have the action. You still have to embed that through ritual. And the thing is, ancient Greek philosophers understood that. I mean, Pythagoras still performed sacrifices. The later Platonists, they were the people that were behind the pagan survival and the, pagan resurgence in the, late antiquity. And Socrates' last words were, "I owe a cock to Asclepius." So, just because you philosophize doesn't mean that you should, leave out ritual and worship, because otherwise you're just talking.
Because we acknowledge the gods to be real and to be independent, that presupposes that there is a correct way to engage with them. And that's where ritual praxis comes in.
And I think the right way to engage with them is to give them what they want. And, it doesn't matter what we personally think, what our preferences are.
It's not rocket science. It's not that difficult. That's where you have your diviners. That's give them what they want. They're more than capable of indicating what they want.
Yep.
And, I write quite a bit on ritual praxis and the appropriate way to engage in ritual. And the appropriate way is respectfully, period.
Yeah, I think that's fundamental to any act of worship.